The challenges of current economy demand sustainable and inclusive actions. Under this premise, Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, and the Dominican Republic, 8 countries members of the Central American Integration System, will strengthen the capacities of key entities in science, technology, and innovation. This will be possible through the project Central American Policy for Open STI and mechanisms to measure its impact on society. This initiative, led by CENACIT and the City of Knowledge Foundation, aims to stimulate the development of public policies to address challenges in this area. The project consists of 3 phases. One of them is the global analysis of open STI policies in the 8 member countries, the formulation of a regional policy with indicators, and training for science managers promoting inclusion. Let's continue working together towards open and inclusive science.
Good afternoon. We welcome you to the webinar Results of the Studies Developed in the Project Central America Open STI Policies Stage 1. In this space, we will present you the relevant findings obtained in the study's state-of-the-art of open science policies as mechanisms to promote equity, diversity, and inclusion of STI systems at the international level and the situational diagnosis on open and inclusive STI in El Salvador. At the end of this session, we will set aside a space for questions and comments, so you may use the QR code that we present you for you to send them there. In this way, we formally launch the webinar Results of the Studies Developed in Central America Open STI Policy Project Stage 1, corresponding to Belize. The presentation Generalities of the Project Central American Policies for Open STI and the Mechanisms to Measure its Impact on Society will be given by Engineer Yael Castillo. She's the project manager of the executing unit of this project, formed by the consortiums CENACIT Panama, City of Knowledge Panama, CSUCA, CICA, and CTCAP. Go ahead, Ms. Castillo.
Thank you very much, Maria Andrea, and thank you very much all of you for your participation in this webinar. Let me share a short presentation about the project. Okay. Our project name is Central American Policy for Science, Technology, Open Innovation, and the Mechanism for Measuring its Impact on Society. This project is a working consortium by these entities: the Secretary of Science, Technology, and Innovation of Panama, CENACIT, City of Knowledge Foundation of Panama, the Central American Integration System, SICA, through CTCAP, and the Central American Higher Universities Council. And this project is financed by International Development Research Center, IDRC. We aim to strengthen the capacities of key science, technology, and innovation entities in Central America, particularly national science and technology councils, to effectively design and implement open science policies and practices that promote inclusive STI systems. The main objectives are: identify the best practices, promotion instruments, and public policies of open and inclusive science, technology, and innovation that are being implemented internationally. Recognize the status of the Central American countries and the Dominican Republic in terms of open and inclusive science, technology, and innovation practices. Formulate a council proposal for a regional policy on open and inclusive science, technology, and innovation. Conduct a pilot of the elements of an open, inclusive diverse and equitable science policy through specific projects. And finally, strengthen regional capacities through the training of managers of open and inclusive science, technology, and innovation. Open science. Why is important this project? Well, it permits open access to knowledge, allows easy access to the latest scientific and technological development advancement, promotion collaboration, exchange of ideas, and the generation of new knowledge. It permits regional collaboration, drives regional collaboration in priority research areas like biodiversity, environmental conservation, public health, and climate change mitigations. Working together, Central American countries can address common challenges more effectively and share resources and expertise. Scientific and technical development, open science fosters transparency and the reuse of data. Innovation, in innovation, access to open scientific information could stimulate the creation of new business and technological innovation. And finally, its impact, social and economic impact. By sharing scientific knowledge, the region can improve evidence, bend decision-making, and promote informed public policies to address social and development issues more effectively. The project has a governance structure of 3 levels. We have a board of directors, executive board, and executing unit. And the project has 3 stages. The stage number 1 is the objective. It was identify the best practices, promotion instruments, and public policies of open and inclusive science, technology, and innovation. About making 2 specific studies. The study of state-of-the-art of STI policies at the global level and the study of diagnosis of the member countries of the Central American region about STI practices. And then in a few minutes, we will present you the results of these studies. The stage number 2 is formulation and approval of the regional STI policies and the system of indicators for its monitoring and evaluation. And in this moment, we are in this stage, number 2. And the stage number 3 is training and capacity building of science managers who will implement the policy and different projects or instruments that we identify in the stage number 2. Okay, in the stage number 2, we are developing this kind of webinars to disseminate the results of the studies carried out in the phase number 1. And this is the number 6 webinar. Then the activity in the stage number 2 will be a dialogue and discussion workshops will contribute to formulate a consensual proposal for a regional policy on open and inclusive science, technology, and innovation. Conduct a pilot of the elements of an open, inclusive, diverse, and equitable science policy through specific projects. Then in this stage number 2, we will design a draft proposal with the framework of a regional policy for open science, technology, and innovation. Okay, this is the different stage of the project, and I would like to finish with this reflection. Open and inclusive science contemplates an approach to scientific research that seeks to make science more accessible, transparent, and collaborative. Thank you very much.
We thank Engineer Jael for her participation. Now, we will remind you that you can leave any questions using the QR code or the link displayed in the screen. To continue with the development of this activity, on this occasion, we will present the study Best International Practices in Open STI as a Mechanism to Promote Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion by Dr. José Luis Sollero, which is the CEO of the consulting firm Cambiotech. He has been a senior researcher type B at the Institute of Applied Science and Technology at UNAM since 2000, scientific production with more than 200 published works, including articles, book chapters, and papers in preceding international conferences. He's also president of the Association of Technology Transfer Executives during 2014 and 2015. Some of the awards he has received are Jesus Silva Prize for Economic Research and the Ernest Feather Prize for Research. Also, he's a doctor honoris causa from the Ibero-American Council for Educational Excellence. As I mentioned, he's currently the founder and president of Cambiotech AC, a private nonprofit organization dedicated to training, research, and consultancy specializing in technological innovation policies and management. With you, Dr. José Luis Sollero.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Let me share my screen. Okay. Well, as I mentioned before, we're going to present the results of the first study based on the analysis of information to make up the state of the art in open science and open innovation around the world. To conduct this study of the state of the art, as you may know, such a study is a comprehensive research of relevant information, and we made a consultation of the main secondary sources of scientific research. As you can see, the Web of Science, Scopus, Science Direct, ProQuest, and analyzing publications in the period of 2003 to 2023, including articles, book chapters, and books in English and Spanish. We exported the information to an Excel platform, and we analyzed at the very end 207 documents. The analysis was based on the characteristics, the key elements, and the taxonomy of open science and open innovation. And to complement and document best practices, following the terms of reference of the study, we made a detailed analysis of the experience of 6 countries in 3 continents. You can see here which countries we analyzed: Argentina, Colombia, India, Malaysia, Portugal, and Spain. Well, first, it is important to have a common definition. And when we talk about open science, there is a consensus on considering it as a new model to make science based on collaborative work, openness, and transparency in all phases of research. Please bear in mind that all phases of research, because this is an evolution from the idea of having open publications, just to read them. Now, the idea is to have the access to all the information about the research process, including the formulation, the production of data, of course, the publications, but also the evaluation process by peers. So it is really very important to have this as a new development in science management. So you can see here some of the main definitions. And as you can see in bold, there is an idea that open science leads to an ecosystem that involves the following interrelated perspectives. A philosophical one, because it includes the consideration of ethics, integrity, and transparency. The scientific perspective, because it deals with innovation, use and reuse of scientific information, the reproducibility and replicability of scientific information. Then a social perspective, trying to lead to collaboration networks, citizen science, democratization of information, and information sharing. And finally, the technological and the policy perspective. Regarding the technological one, is a mean of standardizing and having traceability and interoperability of scientific data. And finally, in the case of policies, as a series of instruments to promote open science. And all this has a support in the economic perspective. That means that if you want to promote open science, you need to have a good planning of investments, the building of infrastructure, and a series of negotiations with different actors to improve the access to scientific information. Well, in terms of the different taxonomic features around the concept of open science, of course, we have one that is very well recognized internationally, and that is the idea of open access. And you may see now that we have a lot of open access publications, and that is a good instrument to promote the access and the rapid dissemination of scientific information. But that is not perfect. In many cases, researchers and research managers ask this question: is that access free and free of charge? Because most editorial companies are making charges for the processing of the article, and that creates some barriers of entry for scientists of developing countries because they don't have the money to pay. Another important thing to bear in mind are the motivations to publish in open access. The authors that choose to publish in this way do that because they want to reach a larger audience, they want to increase citations, and of course, to publish faster than in traditional journals. The problem, as I said before, is that of the cost to publish, the lack of clear open access policies by publishers, and some concerns regarding the quality of publications, because some people think that open access articles have less quality, but that is rather a myth, because many highly qualified journals have also the possibility of publish in open access. Another taxonomic feature is that regarding the tools that you use to manage an open science environment. And it is clear in the literature that you need to implement technological solutions to support open infrastructures, allowing the expansion of all the principles of open science and the convenient application of these principles. Another important thing is that in order to assess the likely success of open science management, you have to find out which metrics and which methodologies to have the measurement of indicators around the open science. And that is really a very important issue to address. Then you will find that there are certain guidelines to conduct open science. One of the most important is that called FAIR. The FAIR principles are related to the idea that data must be easy to find, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. I want to underscore reusable, because the idea is that you have the access to the data and that you can use them in new projects. Then you have the principle of trust, and that is regarding the repositories of scientific information, and they should be transparent, responsible, user-focused, and sustainable. And finally, they should use appropriate technological capabilities to achieve the goals. Then another principle is to have an open peer review of the scientific publications, giving access to the public, not only to the information on the scientific research, but also on the review processes. And finally, on the guidelines, there is a very stark one, very strong one that relates to citizen science. And that is a series of guidelines for government agencies to implement the open science projects, giving access to a wide audience to have a better dissemination of the scientific information. The next feature is that related to open and reproducible research. And that comes with the idea of having systems that are transparent, to give access to wider audiences, to have the chance to replicate the results of the original authors and detect possible errors, and of course, to have that information as a base for new research. Then we have another principle that is related to responsible research and innovation. And that is the idea here is that researchers should consider that their work should be reliable, that they should be honest in the way they conduct the research and the way they share the information with the public, and of course, respecting the environment and society. And the last feature is related to inclusion, diversity, and equity. And that has to do with the quality and integrity of research, the search of collective benefit with research projects, and the consideration of diversity and inclusions. Of course, all these features highlight the importance of the behavior of the different actors of the science ecosystem in the countries. Here you have a summary of the policy trends in the case of open science. And the first one has to do with mandatory rules. That means that many governments are now implementing mandatory rules requiring the researchers to accept the open science principles when they get research grants. And that is reflected in national strategies and institutional policies. The second one is the need to provide incentives in form of financial support to cover publication costs in open access, and also to give the researchers formal recognition for their effort in considering and implementing open science. The third one is to work in the enablers. And what are the enablers? The infrastructure, the proper infrastructure for data sharing, then the development of initiatives for an open science culture in the country, and the development of skills and competencies in different environments, researchers, libraries, science management agencies, etc. The fourth policy trend is that of planning and budgeting to have a proper investment in the open science infrastructure and training, and also the promotion of interinstitutional and international cooperation, because this is a very complex undertaking. It is very important, as you can see in number 5, to have training mechanisms for the main actors of open science, and then to work in pushing a transition from traditional science to open science, and that requires national plans and strategies. The seventh has to do with intellectual property, and that has to do with having some norms and standards to make open science compatible with the protection of intellectual property. That leads to the 8th point that deals with fighting misuse of open data. You have to respect the authors. And the ninth is to promote the ethical framework of the actors of open science. And finally, something that is very important for countries like ours, and that is to address the differences and asymmetries between countries, regions, and persons related to research. Well, is open science important for the world? Here you can have this chart, elaborated by the Malaysia Open Science Platform, in which you can see some examples of sound policies for the promotion of open science. And you can see very well that we have now initiatives, policies, and experiences in all the continents. Here you can see some examples, some specific examples of open science and policy instruments. In the case of Argentina, you can see that they have a law, a national law for the creation of repositories, digital repositories for the open access to scientific information. In the case of Australia, you have the initiative to have the Open Data Cube for observation satellites, and also the Australian Research Data Commons, and national policy of open science. In the case of China, they are working very hard on that, and they have global change research data publishing and repository that has to do with global change, but also the China Science and Technology Cloud. In the case of Spain, they have a national strategy for open science going from 23 to 27. In the case of Slovenia, that is very well recognized as one of the leaders, they have a national strategy of open access to scientific publications and research data. In the case of the United States, the White House Office of Science and Technology launched last year a new guide of the White House to promote the mandatory acceptance of open science principles in the case of those people who have some financial support of the federal government. Well, in summary, in the case of open science, we have guidelines, policy guidelines that assume the rationality of open science through mechanisms like principles, rules, and guidelines, the setting of objectives and missions in terms of open sciences, the development and financing of processes, and the inclusion of open science in decision making. The official documents supporting the policies are aimed to strengthening open access, research data management, preservation and reuse of scientific information, open science infrastructures, capabilities, and competencies, and of course, on offering incentives and rewards to people who accept the principles of open science. Let me go now to open innovation. Open innovation is a new model based on collaboration. And it is very important to underscore that open innovation has been promoted by firms internationally. Why? To achieve synergies. And collaboration in innovation requires effective mechanisms to foster interactions and knowledge transfer. You can see in this chart that in the case of closed innovation, the traditional one, everything happens inside the firm. In the case of open science, the firm looks for opportunities to collaborate with clients, consumers, and other research institutions to have more alternatives and rapid access to market. The father of the concept of open innovation is Professor Henry Chesbrough, who coined the concept in 2003 to refer to the possibility that companies have access to external sources, and in that way obtaining greater benefits if they make the appropriate and timely use of the combination of internal and external sources. As you can see, the idea is sharing of knowledge for innovative purposes, and that open innovation needs a strategy to generate those collaborations based on the work of innovative agents. So it is important, and we have seen that in the state of the art, that different institutions are as catalyzers of the collaboration in terms of open innovation. But open innovation, being a very young concept, has evolved during the last 20 years. The first wave of open innovation was the traditional one, and it deals with using a mechanism of using external and internal routes and combining them to reach the market. That is based on the company. Later, the second wave, developed by the European Commission, is based on considering the quadruple helix approach that enables key players to create and drive fundamental changes that goes beyond the realm of individual companies. That means when you say quadruple helix, you are considering society. In the third wave, the new evolution leads to understanding how communities can contribute to the creation, exchange, and transfer of knowledge. In this third wave, we are working a lot with the idea of co-creation of innovative ideas. And finally, the fourth wave that is underway is categorized in the context of sustainable innovation ecosystems, and is considering a lot the sustainable development goals. So here you can see the evolution of the perspective. And the idea is to address the challenges through public policies. And these are the challenges: to have directionality, that means innovation for whom, to promote legitimacy and responsibility. And that means that innovation requires policymakers to address not just how to get there, but also fundamental issues of directionality. What future do we want? Legitimacy, why do we want this future and who defines it? And responsibility, and that means transformation by and for whom. So, as you can see, open innovation is evolving to responding to societal challenges, considering digital transformation, energy efficiency, addressing the problems of aging populations, and the problem of climate change. Is open innovation important? Here you can see again that there are many initiatives of policy to promote open innovation in different countries. Here, I will show you some specific examples. In the case of Colombia, the Impulsa Colombia, a program based in the Ministry of Science and Technology, there is a program created in 2012 to finance innovation projects in companies in early stages of development, and to promote a series of challenges. That means that the company publishes a challenge expecting that the different actors of the innovation ecosystem respond to that challenge and cooperate with the company. So for achieving that, there is a series of open innovation services to support the process. In the case of the city of Medellin, we have the program of Ruta N, or En route, that is creating a series of specialized innovation nodes to promote the interaction in the ecosystem. In the case of India, we have here that India started very early, that means in 1974, to promote collaboration aimed at having greater use of the infrastructure in the whole potential. And they had in that year a program to share infrastructure and sophisticated analytical instruments. That platform of collaboration has been very important for a learning process. And in 2000, they created the National Innovation Foundation with the objective of promoting indigenous innovations by documenting them, protecting them through intellectual property rights and commercializing measures. And something that is very interesting in the case of India is that the program MyGo, that is a participatory governance platform to support the innovation ideas of many different peoples, not only researchers, and that has been a really incredible success. In the case of Spain, there is a state sub-program of public-private collaboration promoting innovation ecosystems and creating an environment with clear goals, and also the financial support for projects. And something that is very important is that sub-program of innovative public procurement, in which the Spanish state acquires innovative solutions created by Spanish companies and researchers. In summary, in the case of open innovation, it is an interactive model of innovation. It is based on the collaboration and the knowledge sharing between different actors. And the articulation of global value chains is also an important contribution for the development of that environment of collaboration. We have seen that open innovation has been evolving, and I want to finish my remarks stressing the advantages of open innovation for our countries. It gives us improved access to knowledge and technology that most of the small firms of our countries could not be able to develop. It gives access to talent. It leads to cost reductions. It increases competitiveness of firms, particularly the small ones. It also contributes to solving social problems, such as poverty, inequality, or climate change. It increases participation of the various actors. It considers aspects that are relevant for the design of policies of the promotion innovation. And something important in those policies is to have an adequate budgetary allocation, to offer tax incentives for the companies to participate, and also some subsidies and direct support for research and innovation projects with the participation of universities, research centers, and companies, and also the creation of digital platforms. The idea of public procurement is very important. It is important also to train and develop human capital for open innovation. And I want to go to the importance of also developing policies aimed at social innovation with proper financial mechanism, and creating an institutional framework for the development of social innovation projects involving companies and also NGOs and other civil society organizations. One important thing to finish, and that is very relevant to be considered, is that the idea of social innovation has to be inclusive with gender orientation and also the consideration of the asymmetries within the society. And with that, I thank you very much for your patience, and I am open to questions if you have any.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Sollero. Reminding you as well, you can leave your comments and any other questions using the QR or in the comments by using the link. Following up, next, we will listen to the relevant findings of the study diagnosis of current situational regarding open and inclusive STI policies in Belize. We welcome Dr. Mónica Oliver, key expert in the University of Belize in the study diagnosis of the current situational regarding open and inclusive STI policies in Central America and Dominican Republic. She's an experienced economist and senior consultant with more than 20 years of experience in international cooperation projects with special focus in design and evaluation of competitiveness systems, designs, promotion and evaluation of business development services for SMEs and clusters, science, innovation and technology policies analysis. Dr. Mónica has a robust knowledge in economic policies in Latin America due to her participation in many projects in different countries of Central America and South America, mainly supported by the Inter-American Development Bank, the European Union, and the United Nations and the IDRC. Particularly, her professional experience includes positions as a key expert in different projects in Argentina, Paraguay, Peru, Ecuador, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Guatemala, and more recently, Belize. She has worked on MSMEs of the following key economic sectors like agricultural business, textile, tourism, metal, mechanical industry, food industry, TICs, and nanotechnology. Mónica Oliver's academic degrees are PhD in economic from the National University of Córdoba, Argentina, and Masters of Science in Science and Technology Policies from the University of Sussex, United Kingdom. We remind you that you can leave your opinions and comments using the QR code, and with you, Dr. Mónica.
Thank you, Maria Andrea. I will share my presentation now, and you tell me, please, if you can see it okay.
It's okay.
Yes, we can see it.
Fine. Well, we have done this study in Belize. The analysis of the science, technology, and innovation policy. Within the project, a bigger project that is called Open STI Policy for Central America. What are the contents of my presentation? First of all, the objective of the project. Then the methodology we applied. Third, the major milestones in the STI's policy in Belize. 4, the analysis of the implicit STI policy. 5, the main results. 6, UNESCO values, principles, and areas of action for open science. 7, our general recommendations for Belize. 8, major challenges of the new STI strategy that is being done in Belize. 9, integration of Belize in a regional STI policy. And finally, we have done a SWOT analysis. Okay, the general objective of the project is to evaluate the open and inclusive STI policy applied in 8 countries as we have already said, of the Central American region, that is to say, Costa Rica, Honduras, Panama, Nicaragua, El Salvador, República Dominicana, Guatemala, and Belize, that is to say, the SICA region. While the specific objectives are to identify the main authority on STI issues and analyze the existing programs, plans, and instruments. Another specific objective is to identify the actors of the so-called national system of innovation and the links existing between them, considering the quadruple helix model, that is to say, enterprises, academia, government, and civil society entities. In third place, a specific object of the project was to determine the commitment to UNESCO principles and areas of action of open science. And finally, to make a SWOT analysis and policy recommendations. What was the methodology we applied to carry out this study? How did we do the STI policy evaluation in Belize and in general in the 8 countries? Firstly, we did some documentary analysis, that is to say, to analyze the previous documents, projects, information available on the websites, etc. And secondly, to validate this previous analysis, we interviewed some key referents. We have in-depth personal interviews to key actors in the country via virtual meetings. What can we say about Belize in past and present times? Well, the major milestones were 2 ones. The first one, we can say that between the years 2014 and 2015, a national science, technology, and innovation strategy for Belize was defined by the former Ministry of Energy, Science, Technology, and Public Utilities, together with a Korean mission from the government of Korea. That was a very rigorous analysis, and it took 2 years to be done, and they came up with a national science, technology, and innovation strategy for Belize. However, this strategy was never implemented. So after many years, we can say now Belize is engaged again in the process of establishing an STI national strategy for 10 years, from 2024 to 2034. Now is the Ministry of Education in charge of this process, together with a STIAC committee that has been created ad hoc with members from many institutions. How did we do the analysis of the implicit STI policy in Belize? Well, first of all, we found that Belize didn't have a specific authority on STI, nor a specific defined policy, plans, or instruments. So the methodology applied in the other countries of Central America could not be applied in the case of Belize. Consequently, we analyzed the implicit STI policy in Belize. And how did we do this? By considering the different policies applied related in any way to STI issues in the following 11 institutions. We went to see the policies of the Ministry of Education, the University of Belize, the Galen University, the Ministry of Sustainable Development, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Agriculture, the Economic Development Council, the Development Finance Corporation, the agency Beltrade, the Ministry of Human Development, and finally, the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry. What were the main results we obtained after analyzing the policies carried out of these 11 institutions? Well, we can say that despite not having a specific STI policy yet, Belize verifies the existence of actors of the so-called quadruple helix. That is to say, it has got actors from the government, from the academia, enterprises, and entities of the civil society. Here's a map that counts on this issue. And considering the three main aspects of the policies on science and technology and innovation, what can we say about the results obtained in Belize? About research and development. Well, both universities, that is to say the University of Belize and Galen University, are very much focused on teaching. That is to say that research activities are very limited. There are not enough human resources with adequate formation, nor they have research funds. They are quite scarce, and there is not a research culture in the country. About innovation funding, MSMEs in general do not count on any support for innovation funding. What about training and technical assistance? Well, Beltrade and the Ministry of Agriculture offer training and technical assistance to productive firms, particularly MSMEs. However, the Belize Chamber and also university take part in these training services. And together with Beltrade and some international projects, collaboration projects, the Belize Chamber and the universities take part in these formation services to employees of the firms. However, this labor training is horizontal instead of being specific according to the different productive sectors and their technological specific needs. That is to say, the training doesn't distinguish between the different needs according to the sector that the MSMEs are part of. And some international cooperation programs, that is to say IDB Lab, IDB Invest, UNDP, offer some kind of financial support and technical assistance for innovation-related activities within the firms, as well as for business incubation. However, these programs have a limited time of what they can do this funding, because the programs have an ending date. So the implicit STI policy, we concluded that the limited STI policy actions in Belize are very general, not specific, scattered, and not articulated. And of course, they don't respond to any STI general strategy because they don't have it yet. I think maybe I have a surprise. I mean, they are finishing their strategy. I don't know. At the moment of the study, they were working on the new Belize national strategy on STI. Well, what about the UNESCO 4 core values and 6 guiding principles of open science? Well, Dr. Soleiro already talked about this, but the 4 values for the open science defined by UNESCO are quality and integrity, collective benefit, equity and fairness, diversity, and inclusiveness. And the 6 guiding principles for open science are transparency, equality of opportunities, responsibility, respect, and accountability, collaboration, participation, and inclusion, flexibility, and sustainability. And we tried to analyze what was the degree of Belize in its commitment to these UNESCO principles of open science. Well, as they don't have a science policy specific defined yet, we found no evidence of Belize's commitment to these principles. However, we found about collaboration and participation and inclusion that there are interesting in doing open science in this sense. Collaboration and participation, we found that in the universities, in the academia sector, they are very interested in collaboration with other universities of the world. So we said there are medium degree of commitment. And the UNESCO 7 areas of action for open science are defined as following: promoting a common understanding of open science, developing and enable policy environment, fostering a culture of open science, investing in human resources, promoting innovative approaches, promoting cooperation, and investing in infrastructures and services. These are the 7 areas of actions defined by UNESCO. Again, what is the commitment to these UNESCO areas of action for open science in Belize? Well, mostly we have no evidence, but investing in human resources for open science, we can say there is a degree of commitment, specifically talking about the STEAM academy they have, which fosters also a culture of open science. And as we said before, they are promoting cooperation in the academia for open science. So after the study and the results we obtained, what are the general recommendations? First of all, we can say that priority disciplines and priority productive sectors for innovation should be defined in the new STI strategy for an efficient, effective, and relevant STI policy. I'm not sure whether the committee, the STIAC committee, is working on that. So this is a recommendation. First of all, define these priority disciplines and priority productive sectors for innovation. Which are those priority productive sectors for Belize? Well, some of the key referents I interviewed within the study pointed out that those sectors are agricultural business, tourism, and energy. These priority sectors must be confirmed or not within the new strategy for Belize. And once defined these priority sectors, the human resources formation and training should be focused regarding those sectors, because resources are limited. So it's very important to select the productive sectors with more potential and then train and make human resources formation regarding those sectors. The R&D projects in the academic sector concerning those sectors should also be encouraged. Similarly, the academic programs have to be redefined according to the established priorities. The teaching and learning of agricultural business management should be fostered. The biotechnology as well. The food technology should be considered key disciplines if the agricultural business sector is one of the priority ones. Those are examples of how the training and formation of human resources should go on with the productive sectors that have been chosen. Finally, the policy instruments should include R&D funding at the university level, that is to say, postgraduate scholarships, research, tutorials, etc., and product and process innovation support at the firm level, such as matching grants, tax incentives, fiscal benefits, etc. What are the major challenges of the new national STI strategy in Belize? What are the most important challenges of the strategy 2024-2034? The Science and Technology Unit of the Ministry of Education and the STIAC Committee. Well, first of all, the main institutional actors have to be set up, and that is to say, to define the legal and institutional framework for the STI policy, and more importantly, the links between them. That is to say, how the quadruple helix model will work. So Belize has the actors, and it's important that the actors are established how they will apply this STI strategy and the policy, and how they will interact between them. Another challenge is to diffuse the STEAM concept within the general education system. Belize already has the STEAM Academy, so it is important to diffuse this concept within the general education system. Another challenge is the new design of the academic programs in the university. As we said, they are very focused on teaching, and they needed to be more oriented to the technological needs in MSMEs. These new programs should consider the participation of the enterprise themselves and the diverse civil society entities. So the programs, you have to hear what the MSMEs have to say about the needs they have about the formation of the human resources. And another challenge is to select and confirm the strategic productive sectors of Belize in order to give priority to them. Tourism, agriculture and agribusiness, energy, others. The new strategy has to focus on these sectors or others. The budget assignments for academic research and technological developments. Scholarships for postgraduate studies and research on strategic disciplines. So I found out that the University of Belize has two research centers, one in climate and the other one in language. And Galen University didn't have one, but now a research office has been created. So the instruments, for example, that can be applied are scholarship for postgraduate students and research on strategic disciplines. Another challenge is to identify the required technological capacities from the MSMEs in order to generate innovations. When I had the interview with Namrita Balani from the Ministry of Education, they said they could collect information about this by the Belize Statistical Institute. But I would say that the information that this institute can collect is not only about related to the MSMEs that innovate, but more importantly, what the MSMEs need to to innovate? What are the capacities they don't have yet and they would need to generate innovations? This could the Belize Statistical Institute collect information of. And finally, another challenge is to offer technical assistance and financial aid, as well as specific training in the MSMEs to support technological innovation. Beltrade already does this, but as we said, it is very horizontal for all the sectors, the same training. We insist in order to generate innovation in the firms, the labor should receive some specific training. After that, how can Belize integrate in an open and inclusive STI regional policy? Well, there are two ways. The first one is to wait that the National Science, Technology and Innovation Strategy is established, together with its institutional legal framework. After that, after this strategy is defined, Belize can harmonize its policies, programs, and instruments with the other countries of the region. But we can say that is in the medium or long run. However, if Belize doesn't have the strategy defined yet, there is a way that Belize can integrate with the other countries of the regions. That is by considering its current implicit STI policy. Some key Belize institutions that carry on actions linked to STI, such as Beltrade, the Ministry of Agriculture and universities, can articulate its objectives, plans, and instruments with other similar institutions of the countries in the region. And this could be applied in the short run. And those two ways of integrating Belize in a regional policy are not exclusive. One can be applied first and then the second one. But if Belize already has established the national strategy, great. You can go for the first way of integrating the country to the regional policy. And finally, what we found about the SWOT analysis. What are the strengths? Well, we found mainly two ones. The first one, Belize shows interest and political will to encourage joint actions and collaboration with other countries of the SICA region. That was told to me by all the people I interviewed in the country. And another one is that open and inclusive are commonly used concepts in Belize culture and community. That is to say, in the political spheres, academia, entrepreneurs, and civil society. A weakness we found is that Belize has not revealed too much participation in regional initiatives in the past. On the contrary, its participation has always been very limited. But we found that Belize participates in initiatives with Europe and North America, but not as much as with countries in the SICA region. The opportunity is that this project actually means an opportunity for Belize to encourage its integration in a regional open and inclusive STI policy, at the same time that the country itself is defining its national STI strategy. So both things can go, as we said before, together. And finally, a threat is that different languages sometimes constitute a strong barrier for the country's joint actions and regional integration. However, the majority of the Belize population is bilingual. They not only speak English, but Spanish as well. So it depends, it can be a barrier or not. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Monica. Now we have some space for questions. You can, if you have any comments or question, you can now raise your hand and unmute yourself. She's also mentioning that there are some other actors in Belize that would be useful to include during the studies. I don't know if Dr. Monica or Dr. Suyeiro would be interested in having a comment on that.
Yes, Jodine is right. The study had results similar to those analyzed by the Korean mission 9 years ago, sorry. So they have the way, an easy way now to take that into account, and the STIAC committee indeed took into account this document after 2 years of work in Belize with the Koreans and the Belizeans. Had this interesting document that is now an input for the new strategy. And well, surely there are some other actors, but I was not able to contact them, or I took into account those 11 actors that analyzed, but surely there are more. I can see they have agreed that 2 sectors to focus our transformation is agriculture and tourism. So I believe those are still very much priority sectors. Excellent. So the strategy can confirm or not those sectors selected by the Korean mission 9 years ago.
If you allow me to say, this year I was in Belize attending a meeting on telecommunications and connectivity. And during those discussions for Belize and the Caribbean countries, it was concluded that investing in capacity building for telecommunications and the digital economy, with impact in agriculture, in agro-industry, and also in tourism, is very important. I think that could be included in the study. I tell you, I didn't participate in the Belize study. I just made the state of the art, but I wanted to share with you that impression I had from that meeting in April.
Yes, excellent. Belize has to decide itself what the priority sectors are.
Mm-hmm.
It relates to, it says, it relates to the financing. You're quite right. For the most part of the financing has been quite limited and inconsistent. Yes, I couldn't find any source of funding for innovation in the firms. That's right.
Thank you, Eugene, for your comments. Oh, some years ago, the Ministry of Energy, Science and Technology did facilitate investment for ICTs in the universities and other institutions. Hopefully we get some more of those through the years. But yes, thanks again, Eugene, for your comments. And with this, we also would like to thank Dr. Monica Oliver for her participation. Thank you very much to everyone for their questions and comments. Well, now some closing remarks as we can conclude our workshop on the open science, technology, and innovation. Yes, we can kindly share the presentations afterwards if you would like. The ideas we have shared today are the seeds of a more collaborative and innovating future. Open STI is not only a concept, but a movement that will empower to address our most pressing global challenges, from environmental sustainability to inclusive growth. Open STI accelerates the progress across all sectors. We invite you all to turn these insights into action by implementing open practices, collaborating across disciplines and borders, and to advocate for open policies supporting SDIs. With this, we would also like to thank your participation and time. As well, we would like to thank the Ministry of Education, Culture, Science and Technology of Belize and the executive agencies of this project, IDRC, CENACYT Panama, City of Knowledge Panama, the Central America Integration System, SICA, and the Superior Council of Universities in Central America and the CTPA.
Picture.
Oh, microphone,
Picture.
please.
Photograph.
Yes. This is the end of the webinar, so please turn up your cameras for the corresponding photo, and we will wait a little for everyone to open their cameras. And another one in 3, 2, 1. This is it. Thanks to all of you for your participation. Please have a great day.